What is going on, guys? Bringing you my periodic meta-analysis video, pretty much a video on how to address Shinegreymon. Now, I should preface this by saying that I don't think that Shinegreymon is necessarily an unhealthy problem. I think it's a little bit less crazy powerful than everyone was expecting, but it is still for sure a tier 1 deck and arguably one of the most efficient in the metagame right now. So if you're getting a little bit frustrated playing against this deck, hopefully this video will help out a little bit. But let's go ahead and get into it. So of course the big elephant in the room is, how do you take on Shine? Well, if your deck has access to any sort of preventing DP reduction, I think you are probably in a really good spot. That's pretty much their whole gimmick. Is the only way Shinegreymon has of removing Digimon from the field, aside from, of course, the Ruin mode. Or the, a tech card if you're playing like a random tech card like Crimson Blaze, maybe a Trident Guy or something like that, but typically this is their main form of removal. So I want to preface, first of all, Shinegreymon is still a really powerful deck. My tier list video, I still put this tier 1. Now, while I don't necessarily stand by that, I do think it is still quite a powerful deck, and the EX1 Secret Rare Shinegreymon especially, because all turns its DP cannot be reduced. So if you have if you're playing Shinegreymon, and you have this guy with a reboot on underneath its stack, Shinegreymon literally cannot out that card, even if they have some sort of removal, such as Ruin mode that has like a deletion removal based effect. You can just detach 2 materials from your Shinegreymon to prevent that deletion. And not only that, but if you happen to have the Chaosdramon X antibody and you digivolve over the Shinegreymon, now you've got a 13k body with a bunch more inheriteds and still copies the effect of the Shinegreymon. So from there, it is a GG. They absolutely cannot out that card. Now onto a deck that's maybe a little bit more meta relevant is going to be Alphamon. Alphamon hasn't done anything crazy yet, but it has seen a decent amount of play, and I still think it can do some pretty unfair things. And of course, the new Dora Grey, just like the old one, does prevent DP reduction for a singular turn. So still a really strong effect. This allows you to get your advantage on with your cool boys, your Dora Greys, promoting and then getting the extra draw and gain off a UG, stuff like that. So being able to go on all the way up into your Alphamon or your Yukin, and not having to worry about them being able to answer your board or hitting anything in security. That would help like a BT13 Marcus, or even if they're on Final Shining Burst, Sunrise Buster. If you're able to get your Dora Grey effect off, you are safe. And a lot of times Alphamon just needs that one turn to be able to go in and do their plays. So Alphamon I still think is a really strong contender. Of course, Black Greymon is up there as well, being able to have access to the BT11 Metal Greymon X to do the same thing to prevent DP reduction for a singular turn. Honorable mentions I do want to mention is going to be Awakening of the Golden Knight and Armor Rush. I think there is a world where Armor Rush or Armor Controlled kind of comes back into the meta a little bit because of the card Awakening of the Golden Knight. Lets you digivolve into a Magnamon, and then of course prevents the DP reduction via effects until the end of your opponent's turn. Not only that, but if you pair that with something like Magnamon X, which is effectively a floodgate for Shinegreymon because they can't swing with their Marcus because you just infinitely redirect into your Magnamon. So I think there's definitely some shenanigans you can do with that card as well. So the next thing I want to mention is obviously being able to kill your Marcus, your opponent's Marcus. So Black Greymon and Dark Knight are the decks that immediately come to mind for me, especially Black Greymon, because that's still a tier 1 contender. That's still a really powerful and consistent deck. Black Greymon has access to BT11 Metal Greymon X, as I mentioned before, so not only do you have the Tamer removal going for you, but you also have the stack protection. Hades Force is able to clear multiple Marcuses, although their Tamers are relatively high cost, so you're typically only clearing 2 to 3 if they do have multiples of like the 4 cost Marcus, for example. But if they only have like 2 5 cost, you won't be able to kill those as well as another Tamer. But Hades Force still a really strong card. Of course, we got BT8 Black or Grey as well. Dark Knightmon is another deck I want to mention. I've talked about this in past videos, how I think this deck is actually like a sleeper, and I'm just waiting until this just like wins a regional, because Dark Knightmon has a lot of things going for it. It also has Tamer removal in the form of the Dark Knightmon X antibody. Not only that, but this deck specifically has a lot of Digimon that can float, so it's really, really difficult for your opponent playing Shinegreymon or just a lot of other decks in general to be able to completely clear your board, because you get to float into the Dark Knightmon with the X antibody here. The Dark Knightmon then floats into Deadly Axe and Skull Knight, which all search on play. So really, really strong stuff. I at least wanted to mention that. But any deck that has Tamer removal, Shinegreymon I didn't put here just because while they do have Tamer removal, all of their removal is based on the Megadramon, which is 3 cost or less. Marcus being a 4 and 5 cost definitely gets around that. So Shinegreymon, not so much. Kind of deck I want to talk about her strategy is hyper defensive deck, specifically Belphemon. Shinegreymon I at least wanted to mention again just because that has been brought up because of the DP reduction. Shinegreymon, Analog Man being able to redirect not once per turn, or basically once per copy. But Belphemon specifically, while it does, I think that matchup can be more 50-50. If you're playing Shine and you high roll, yeah, you can kill them turn 2, turn 3, but more often than not, Belphemon being able to have the unaffected blanket effect on itself for that turn and being able to prevent multiple attacks is really, really important. So Belphemon himself, sleep mode, being able to discard 2 cards and then ending any attack, so negating an attack. Not only that, but then when you trash a card during your opponent's turn, Astamon then plays out a level 4 or lower purple Digimon card from your trash. So being able to play back a Vilemon or a Devimon blocker is really important, or even playing back a Gizmon AT to be able to then float into the XT blocker if your opponent does out it. Belphemon, honestly, I think does have a pretty solid matchup into Shine, assuming they just don't draw the nuts, but you are able to stall out the game for a turn, and then once that is accomplished, you can go into your Rage mode, checking for security, and then back into Sleep mode right again to be able to end the game. So I think Belphemon specifically, or any deck that has the ability to stop multiple attacks in a turn, is really strong into Shine. The next thing I just wanted to mention was going to be Ruin mode. So this kind of isn't specific to a certain deck. Shinegreymon, of course, plays the Ruin mode. Millloop can play this card. Mastamon, a lot of different yellow and purple decks can have access to this card. But Ruin mode specifically floodgates your opponent out of being able to use their Marcus and from promoting any of their level 3s or 4s. The Neg 5k is a global effect, meaning that it can affect Digimon that even if they weren't on field when the effect was triggered, any Digimon that comes into play will be affected by the minus 5,000. So Marcus, of course, being a minus 3k or a 3k Digimon, minusing that to 0, will die immediately if they do end up paying a memory to promote him. Prevents the BT13 Agumon from coming out and making him work as a Digimon, so a lot of times it can save you 2 to 3 HP, or 2 to 3 security, and a lot of times if you are playing in Shine, you can just sit on this for 2 turns, so you'll evolve it, neg 5, next turn you'll swing with it, neg 5, hatch an egg, and then make your stack again, and a lot of times it helps you set up for lethal, because once you are getting that extra hatch, you can just go back into your level 3 or 4 and then promote that with your Marcuses if you're playing Shine, or just if you're playing like Belphemon or any other deck. It just lets you have another stack to answer their stack once they come out of breeding, and it's really, really strong, just not only against Shine but just against a lot of different meta decks. So Ruin mode, really crazy. The next thing I want to talk about is just kind of tempo in general, or outing, what I like to call outing the board while attacking security. So decks like Red Hybrid, decks like Hunters are able to have removal effects on their boss monsters, and are able to kind of remove the board without losing aggro. War Greymon X is another good example of this, being able to go into their security and then end of attack deleting something, or in the case of Emperor Greymon, a lot of times you can warp for a 3 cost without passing turn, delete something, delete their Shine stack, swing multiple checks, and the next turn they don't have anything in on the board to be able to answer your stack. Superior mode is another really good example, especially because it passes turn a lot of the times, but you honestly don't care. You can digivolve this, get rid of their stack, putting underneath their Marcus, and then while you're doing that, you effectively get the end of turn if you've got 4 more materials, being able to attack without suspending. So both of these decks, I think, can out-tempo Shine a lot of the times. Quartzmon is another card that Superior Mode has access to, or that Hunters has access to, that is really, really strong in Shine, just being able to nullify all their Marcuses. Emperor Grey, or just decks that have floating. I mentioned Dark Knight earlier, so the fact that Red Hybrid has a lot of floating is really, really strong, being able to just get value off even if your stack doesn't survive. So that's basically everything I wanted to mention, guys. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think of Shine Gray, what you think of the potential answers I've kind of talked about here, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.